So one of the things that is actually really, really important to be done now with Enviremware and Skin Defense is if you're going to wear these yoga pants, which as Dr. Ram was going over with me, and we were talking about when this conversation came out, and I think every woman's going to agree with her. Holy cow, look at this. Hello, doctor.
Hey, honey.
That you might want to have a bottle of Enviremware to spray on the crotch of all of your pants when you put them on.
Oh my gosh.
Is it not true that the constituents of Enviremware would actually bind the PFAS that are in the lining of the yoga pants that every woman is not going to get rid of?
I mean, I would use Enviremware and Skin Defense, both, but don't put it directly on your
Wilhelmina?
You can if there's an infection, but otherwise I wouldn't. I'm being honest. I mean, we're going to start, I kind of told you guys, I'm going to start doing some podcast and talks on things that have to do with sex so that I can educate people on what's important as women and men for them to know, because there's not a lot of actual scientists and doctors out there talking about it. But yes, that area of your body, if you're wearing like things that have, I don't like to say a certain brand. I won't ever do that because I don't want to talk bad about a brand. I do understand what's going on with that particular reference that Clay made. So I would tell you guys that would be extremely helpful. Yes.
So ladies,
and
every woman that you know, and well, I honestly, that was one thing I went over yesterday. You will not find me wearing yoga pants.
Well, but a lot of men do. My kids do sometimes.
They say that they're in ballet.
No, I like yoga pants for men, and I also like leggings for men.
Not tights.
Yeah, we wear them when we go skiing. All the boys.
Well, yes, that way, yes. Yeah, but I'm just saying wearing them out like women do. Not going to happen.
I disagree with that. I think a lot of men don't, but I think some men do, and I actually like that. You wear a purse.
I do.
So let's exactly, Louisa. Some men do. I think some of my sons do. And I actually like that look, but I understand Clay doesn't.
Okay, I'm wearing yoga pants tomorrow to work, and you can. I'm going to look like
Please
I'm in
don't.
the spirit of the dance.
Please don't do that.
I swear. So let's get into this. The information provided is for educational purposes. It's not intended as medical advice or substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professionals. You should not use this information for diagnosing a health or fitness problem or disease. You should always consult with a doctor for advice or information on diagnosis and treatment. Please don't use any of this information for sales or marketing. This is for educational reasons. So we are using this to really educate people. However, this particular deck, so when we say this, just so you guys know, when you look at the ingredients and the things we present, you can use it. We just want to make sure we don't make claims that infringe upon Europe or the Middle East or the United States or any of the areas we're in, because we're protecting you guys.
And here's a little secret. If you want to empower people to purchase something, educate them.
Yeah, I educate. They always call me the ninja because I just educate. And once you educate people, they understand. I did an amazing podcast today with Astrid. We had one of the best talks I've ever had. It lasted like an hour and a half, I think. We'll have to shoot that out there as soon as Marty and Nicole have time to see it. But we talked about educating people on their bodies, educating people about mental, emotional, and spiritual health, and how important it is, and how important it is for us to educate this community. So just so you guys know, I really am excited to talk about back to school. I still have one child in school, Merritt Ella. Kreider, actually, in Duquesne and Preston have graduated high school, but this is back to school for college, high school, middle school, and all the different places. We can go to the next slide. Who's doing the slide deck today?
I think Patrick's got it.
All right.
I'm helping, so give me a second.
He's struggling and he's got an echo. Let's go. This is what happens when the guys are in control of the board.
I think it may be Kreider.
Which could make it even more interesting.
I'll just go ahead and start, though.
Go.
I want to tell you this. So going back to school is an amazing thing, but going back to school has things that are stressful for people too.
Have you ever stopped going to school?
Not really. I'm stressed right now because I have to write a bunch of papers. They're 100 to 200 page papers on medical for Ghana and Liberia and Nigeria. I'm working on this huge project. So it's a lot of work. So yes, I have stayed in school, or I've helped places educate students in school by developing medical programs and scientific programs in Africa. So I'm working on that project right now. Clayton's right, because yesterday I was kind of stressed about it. Trying to get stuff done before the fashion show was a little bit of a stretch for me yesterday because we leave Thursday. But let's talk about this. So when I talk about going back to school, I'm talking about kids. I'm also talking about adults. And really this deck applies to travel, to really branching out and going out there. It's the start of flu season. You know, it's already hit the United States. There's viruses, bacteria, fungus, and parasites, and it's elevated because the more you're around people, the more you're exposed to what they have going on in their life and not just what's going on in your life. And the thing about it is when kids go back to school, or again, let's use an example as adults, when we travel or we start something new, you have 60 to 70% usually lack of sleep, and you're deprived from sleep. And that's really important that you recognize that, because lack of sleep, like last night, I think Clay and I slept 2 to 3 hours because we have so much going on that we have to get done. That lack of sleep translates to your body not being able to perform and to get things done. Typically, when you don't sleep, you have so many things that happen. So even though you're present, like right now I'm here, I was fine this morning when I had a 7 a.m. interview. We got up at 3, or I got up at 3, then I had a 7 a.m. interview, then I did Astrid after that. I was fine this morning, but at this point of the day, even though I've taken a 0 in, with only 2 to 3 hours of sleep, you start getting tired. And I tell people that fatigue is really a big deal. And as adults, sometimes we think, well, they're students, they're younger, they're going to be okay. But really, it affects them too. And when you don't have sleep and your circadian rhythm is down, then your P450 pathways and your IL-2 and your IL-4, all the pathways that lead up to basically your body being able to heal itself, they stop working as well.
So that's your immune system, your immune function, and it's proven that sleep deprivation, the lack, and even one night of sleep deprivation significantly decreases cognitive function.
Right.
And I think it's 3 nights in a row of lack of sleep causes psychosis.
It does. If you don't sleep, then you can almost hallucinate. When I was talking to Astrid today, I discussed with her that when I don't sleep, when she doesn't sleep, when people don't sleep and they don't take care of themselves, their body, again, is not able to fight infection. And for someone like me, who's had cancer, who's had Lyme disease, who's been sick, since I was little, our products are very, very important because I need them every day. If I stop taking them, then I don't do as well. If I don't have them when I travel, I don't do as well. So I'm more worried about I'm more worried about myself than probably a typical person because I've always been sick. And I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life, believe it or not. And it's because I believe the products really work and they're helping me, but I still get sick, especially when there's lack of sleep. So these kids that are going back to school, you've got to make sure you're supporting them with not just breakfast. And the cookbook has some great recipes that would be really good for kids to have, but you need to support them with proper nutrition and supplements as well. You'd rather support them in prevention and wellness than wait until they get sick. A poll conducted during the 2022 and 2023 school year found that 48% of the children that went to school had already been sick. So in Nashville, for example, kids started school a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
And when they started school, people started getting sick.
And the first thing that happens is people get sick because kids are a big petri dish anyway.
They are. They're
you start mixing everything up and no one's healthy, no one's happy. And we know, what people have been exposed to the last 3 years, and you bring a bunch of those people together and things get amplified, and you mix a bunch of things together and your immune system gets to do some work.
That's right.
And you want to be in the right position. And I know we're going to get into my favorite thing, and when it comes to cognitive function and why that's important for school, but that comes later on. So this toxic soup that we exist in, not just what's in a school and the amount of mold, that's in schools.
Well,
But-
it's everywhere. It's even in outside, the mold and the fungus, it's growing
So
everywhere.
we're bringing
now.
it everywhere. Oh,
You got something in your hair.
oh, pull my hair.
No, it's everywhere anyway. So it's really important that we understand that and that we deal with it. So the next slide talks about heavy metals and toxins and bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungus. You guys hear me talking about it all the time. What I don't talk about enough is that proper nutrition actually impacts that. So if you have proper nutrition and supplements, it can help those areas of your life fight heavy metals, toxin, bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungus. If you don't have it, it impacts your nutrition and your health, and also the ability for you to learn and succeed and be the best person possible. So there's a lot of things you need.
And that's kind of the point of being educated, right? Is to learn and retain and become a better individual.
Right. Absolutely.
So if you're not in the right position, you're not taking care of yourself, you're actually not going to get any benefit from what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think of the times in my life, like I've talked to people before about how I had Lyme's disease and I went back to college. I didn't do well. Not only had I lost my memory, but I was sick. I had problems with physical symptoms, illness, mental health. It's all on this slide. Cognitive functioning, behavioral changes during Lyme's disease the whole time. I had all these things when I had cancer too. And that impacted my ability to learn. It also caused me to get all these other illnesses. And the issue that happens again, when I'm exposed to those things, it's a problem. The reason I'm healthier now than I've ever been is because of the products that we have and my attention to taking them. However, I want to say this because this has been a huge focus of mine lately. If you don't have the right emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic support, psychological support, that impacts your health too. We don't have that on this slide, but I want to tell you guys, as a scientist that's also a psychologist, it's really important that your children wake up, that they have the food and the nutrition they need, that your friends' children do, that you all do, and also that you surround yourself with the right community. I talked about this on the podcast today and during an interview today. It's important that you have really what you need to be supported and that you cut out the people in your life that aren't supportive. One of the easiest things for me to do is to love people. It's just natural for me. One of the hardest things it is for me to do is to cut people out that have been bad to me or aren't kind to me. And I said this earlier today. You have to take care of yourself first. Please educate your children on that. They need to choose good friends. If there's bullies in school, or there's people that are emotionally or mentally or psychologically being mean to your children, whether they're in middle school, elementary, high school, college, please make sure that you educate the kids to get those people out of their life, because our products are amazing. But we are a ball full of energy. So you also have to have the right community and the right people, which is why in the root community, who you guys are around is so very important. It's not just the supplements and the nutrition. It's also choosing to be healthy and to be around the right people. That's really, really important.
It's community.
It is. And so I really want to stress that as a mother of four. I want to tell you guys, one of the things I probably didn't do a good enough job with my own children is educating them that if there's a bully in school, even if it's a teacher that's picking on them, you need to make sure they are telling you. You need to communicate openly. Tell your kids you love them. Tell them to choose good friends and tell them to get rid of friends that are hurting them. I was in a pretty popular group in school. We were all athletes and cheerleaders, and I was a tomboy. I really was not pretty at all.
But you were beautiful.
Thank you, Clay. But some of my friends were mean to people, and that's wrong. And I was not okay with that. I ended up going to college, and then things changed a little bit for me. But whether someone is beautiful, whether it's the football player, the homecoming queen, the nerd in school, the person that's so smart, the popular, the unpopular, you all, regardless, have issues. We all, regardless, have health problems. Don't teach your kids, don't look at other people and think just because they're pretty or just because they're popular, they have an easy life. Because sometimes those kids have the hardest life. On the flip side, if your kids are one of those kids that are popular and are athletes, teach them to be kind to others. Teach them that it's wrong. And honestly,
Be a good example.
it's abusive in every way to be mean to anyone in school unless they are a bad person and being mean to others. Please start the school year out with your kids, teaching them to make the right choices, because that is very, very important.
Yeah, and to be a leader.
To be a
Right.
leader, but we talk a lot about heavy metals, toxins, bacteria. We don't talk enough about the fact that stress and people that are mean cause your life to be not as good. And we've got to talk about that.
Well,
too.
I think, and that plays into so many different aspects of, the toxicity in the environment. The toxicity is not just physical.
Yeah.
It's spiritual, it's emotional,
It is.
it's these components, and you don't know, you can't, like you said, you can't judge someone based on, what they look like or what they're doing, because you don't know the other things that are going on. And it's important. I was reading an article this morning, or actually, I think Scott Pullman sent it to me yesterday, that I was reading it this morning or last night, about the importance for men. Guys, this is where I get to speak up, because I haven't done a very good job of this with my boys. I get to do it every once in a while, but I haven't done enough of it. To give your sons, and this is for the guys, to give your sons hugs, not like the man hug like this,
But real hugs.
but real hugs,
And
right?
say, I love you.
Yes, you saw that too.
No,
Oh, but you know
I
this.
did, but I think it's so important, guys. It takes 1 minute. You got to hug your kids. You got to hug the people that are around you. You have to tell them, you got to look them in the eyes and say, I love you. And you have to mean it. Because honestly, life is so hard. Loving someone unconditionally is the best gift you can give to your children, to the people around you. And then part of that love, of course, is loving yourself, and then giving your body what it needs to keep loving others, giving your body what it needs to really go on with life and be the best person possible. That's why I love Root. I talk about it a lot. Guys, I love this community because of how we're growing together. I even like it when we argue and we don't agree, because that's part of life.
Is it?
It's part of
And it was
life.
all
You're
about
good at it.
football and
Oh, somebody's getting muted. No, they beat me to it.
I got him.
So
I don't like it when we mute people. I always feel bad, but you have to talk.
it's our time.
Okay.
Okay. This is what happens when you stand in front of the classroom. You get to say, "Shh, zipper," right? But it's important that even to teach your kids to give their friends hugs, and in society, even especially if you're around people that are a little bit older, that live on their own. When you see people in public, give your friends and people a hug, because one of the things I've learned, one, we understand the psychology of human contact, right? It's important to have human contact, right? Constantly. That for people that live alone, and I do this in public, you give somebody a hug, you don't know if that's the first time that they've actually had someone give them a hug, or give them contact of another human being in a day, in a week, in a month. And so it's so important to have that interaction, and to be able to lead and show people that you actually care, even if it's just a little, oh,
Yeah.
it's good to see you.
Because
And girls are good at this,
not all girls.
as they stab you in the back.
Not all girls do that either.
No, they
Clay.
don't, but it's important.
It's important to give the love. And I think, we talk so much about these products because they've changed all of our lives. But I really want to impart to you guys that, again, we're here for a short time, and you've got to make sure that you're loving yourself and then loving others. And I said this earlier, and I'll tell you guys again, I was about 45 years old before I understood that part of loving myself was not just giving unconditional love, but separating myself from bad people that were mean to me or that hurt me. You got to teach kids both things. Don't be like me and wait till you're 45 years old. it's great to love, and we've got to show love. Like Clayton said, we've got to hug, we've got to touch. We have to sincerely look at people and tell them. But at the same format, you've got to set a boundary that if people are abusive or bully you, to not have them around. And I want to talk to the mothers and fathers on this call. Please make sure you spend time with your kids. One of the things that's happened a lot in the United States are school shootings. When they look into the school shootings, a lot of those children and those people don't feel loved, right? So we've got to show this love, but we've got to show boundaries as well. And I think as a root community, we are such a good example to others on how we should treat them. And I think we continue this as we go back to school, back to work, start traveling again.
Oh, yeah.
Getting ready to be on the road and really show that to kids. But I want to stop. Patrick, can I ask a question? And am I able to ask questions? I'd like to interact a little bit during the call today.
Uh-oh.
Can we do that? Is that possible?
Yeah, it's
You
our
don't,
show.
you don't need my permission for that. You can do
I do
whatever
need
you.
your permission. You're in control over there.
We have control too. We have the participants. We can
I would like to I'd like to have people raise their hands to give 2 examples of what they're doing from a nutrition and supplement perspective for their kids going back to school, as well as what they're doing emotionally and mentally and spiritually for their kids, because I want to group this in together. I feel like, again, I want this community to grow. Even if we don't agree, I want us to talk about it. So let's ask some of the parents or some people that how they're preparing their kids to go back to school or how they've done it in the past.
Well, Dr. Fadwa put her hand up immediately.
I
She's
saw
like,
that.
Pick me.
And
She was
I
like
think
Donkey and Shrek.
And she's
I'm
awesome.
sorry.
I
but
love that.
it's actually my niche is mental illness in the youth. I grew up with major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and my daughter had OCD. And I used to tell her, it started at 10. We finally got over it by 16, but I would tell her all the time, Grace, that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Grace is in there, and we're going to pull you out of there. Both of my girls are now at Liberty University. Both of them are on Zero In. Both of them are on Clean Slate. Both of my girls know exactly about glyphosate and everything that's going on. They've been living with me for a long time. We had family dinners. We talked to them. You gotta have the measuring outcome as a scientist. For me, the measured outcome is having your child's heart. Once you have your child's heart, no matter what noise is happening around you, whatever blue state, like I live in Michigan, we have like really bad stuff happening here with our kids, really bad. But they have your heart, that's just noise.
Yeah.
And they're not at the dinner table with you. They're not putting your kid to bed as you are. They're not reading those books. Anyways, I was just saying, I agree with you, and it's made a major influence. And Grace can now tell her story to other people, and we remind them the same thing. You know, everyone's walking around with their own story and their own problems, so we can't judge what's happening on the outside with them. You know, we got to give each other grace and some patience. And so, anywho, I didn't mean to control the dialogue. I'm just
You're
very
awesome.
exciting.
I love that. You know, when my kids were little, we always had dinner together. When they got older, I'm sure you know this, when you have 4 children in sports and activities, they're all coming in at different times. And now the kids are older, so it's different. Merritt and Kreider are at home, but they have their own lives. They're at that age where they're doing their own thing. But I agree with you. Dinner is so important. And I love the fact of what you said. I love what you said. Everything you just said is amazing, because you've got to teach your kids you love them. And then no matter what happens, they know that's their foundation. They don't question it. If you can give your kids that love, it really helps. And another thing I want to tell you guys, your kids will argue with their friends. There will be things that go wrong. It's really important in life, and this is something people don't talk about enough. It's important to show kids that you can argue, you can disagree, and then you can forgive each other and love each other. Clayton and I are very different. We had an argument last night.
What?
Kreider was there. Yeah. And we were upset. But then one of the things Clayton and I've always been good at is that foundational piece of love and of mutual respect. It's always there. So we're able to overcome things. And I think that's one of my favorite things in life. I may not always agree with Ted or Patrick or someone else in the office, but we always come back to a position of love. And with my children, I'm like you, just loving them means so much. And I think that's the foundational piece. I'd love to hear from one more person. First of all, I do want to tell you, I loved what you said. Thank you. It said it a lot better than I could say it. Thank you for speaking up. I want to make these calls a little bit more interactive. So please, if you guys have a comment, raise your hand and we'll take one more person.
Well, there's the interesting part, because growing up, you can apply things differently, right? We have a love stick at home where when I was a child, my dad beat me with the ugly stick. But now with the love stick, you beat me with the love stick every once in a while just to make sure I'm paying attention.
What do you mean?
Well, because sometimes you have to use force.
Well, I didn't hit him. I've never hit him. We did talk about, and this is something I really, again, my first background was psychology. So I want to tell you guys, another thing that's important is each child has a different love language. Each child needs something very different from you. I texted my kids yesterday telling them I was sorry for some of the things I thought I did wrong. I want to be better every day as a mother. One of my sons texted me immediately and said, "Mom, we love you. We are so it was the sweetest text. I started crying in the car. And then one of my other sons texted too, and I started crying. But they each are different, right? So remember, guys, just because you love one way, your child may love a different way. And that applies to the root products. And let me use that as an example. Some people may take 2 0-in, some people may take 1. Some kids start with ReLive greens. They're all different. Listen to your kids, because I can tell you now, all 4 of my kids use something that's a root product. But at first, when I first came out, even though it was my products, my kids didn't want to use, and they're not mine, they're ours, because I gave them, they're not my products anymore. But my kids,
I thought you said our kids.
Our kids came back to now using the product. So don't give up on your kids either. When it comes to nutrition, when it comes to supplements and health, when it comes to the way they love and the way they share their lives, don't give up on your kids. I just want you guys to know how important that is. Those kids deserve that love, and you guys are here to show it. And I know this community can step up and be an even better example. I fail every day, and the next day my goal is to be better. So I just want to ask everyone to try to be that person as well.
Did you know there's actually 6 love languages, not 5? Because one of the love languages is sometimes love is death. And you have to use hand language to explain to your kids what you mean.
That's not what he does. That's not what he does.
Sometimes.
So we're going to take one person before we get there. Remember that when they're going back to school, you've got to improve their immune health, cognitive functioning, energy focus, performance, psychosocial development, which we've talked about, and strengthen the relationship with school performance. But I'm going to go back to what you just said. Strengthening your love with them is the most important thing. That foundational piece, no matter what happens, they need to know that their parents love them.
And both.
Get another question.
It's proof.
Bye.
Okay, so we let Nurse Christy raise her hand, and she's waving it, and she's sitting in the dark, even though it's noon on the West Coast.
We can't see you, Nurse Christy.
Oh, sorry. There's something wrong with my computer. I've replaced my camera. I don't know, but
We can hear you.
what I was gonna say is that we have to remember too how we talk to our kids, how we love our kids is setting the example of how they are going to treat other people. And so if we're not loving them, in showing that example to them, and we're not teaching them, if you're talking negative about a lot of people in front of your kids, they're going to pick up on that behavior being okay. And so then they go to school and they take that behavior with them to school, and they become the mean kid or the bully. And they may not even know it because it's behavior that has been shown to them as acceptable. So when we're preparing our kids, we got to remember that they could be the mean kid also, not just the one that's having to deal with the mean kid.
Yeah, I never had that issue with any of my kids. My kids actually always told me, and they probably would say it right now, that one of the issues is that they feel like I allow people to be mean to me, which is why I said, guys, and I agree with Nurse Christy, there's some kids that are out there that are mean and bullies, but they learn that somewhere. They learn that from home. I've had to teach my kids over the last 5, 6, 7 years, ever since I've known Clayton. He really helped me be able to say what I think, what I feel. Like last night, I told him, you know, my idea of love is I like romance. I like us spending time just talking. I don't, one second, guys. I don't need to go out and spend money. I just want us to spend quality time together. Money does not make you happy. Power and beauty do not make you happy. What makes you happy is your heart and your good intentions. So if you guys have kids that are bullies, I will say this, you need to figure out why. Now, I did have 2 of my kids that they would bite when they were 2 years old. Duquesne was one of them. Because sometimes kids will bite when they're little, and he stopped that. He's one of the nicest human beings possible. You go
He
through,
stopped doing that, what, 2 years ago?
no, he was a
Oh.
little kid when he first did it. But you do, I agree with you, Nurse Christy. You have to teach your kids to be good. Thankfully, I had kids that were just amazing human beings all through school, and they still are. But if you don't, you got to look at yourself in the mirror, and you got to think, why are these kids being mean to others? Because that's not okay. And then you've got to fix it. Like I said, we all make mistakes, so then we have to fix it. And we have to be adults enough to admit when we're making mistakes, to admit when we're wrong, and try to change that. Like when Clay and I argue, somebody's saying they're sorry, or usually both of us are saying they're sorry. It takes me a little bit longer.
It just means I'm admitting I was wrong.
So I admit I'm wrong a lot too, but I was going to tell you guys, now we're going to talk about the
Are these
favorite.
your top 3 favorites for kids in school?
Well, so as we promised, and I don't know if it's in here, if it's not, we'll get it out
Say
to
hello
everyone.
to my little yellow friend.
We're coming up with protocols. It was supposed to be in here, but I don't see it. It may be here later. We're coming up with a protocol about back to school. So all you PhDs, PharmDs, MDs, healthcare practitioners, send me ideas of your protocol for back to school, because we're working with actually doctors now. And I got a text on my way up the stairs that I have to share with Clayton later about a meeting we had yesterday with a huge network of doctors and nurses that are going to launch the CTC brand. And when we were talking, we presented how many protocols?
Oh,
17,
I think there's,
a
yeah.
bunch of protocols. And we told them we were coming out with a back to school protocol. So any of you guys that want to do a case study for ISNS or for Root U on your protocols for back to school, we're going to invite you to submit those. And we're going to do a Root U session on protocols for kids and back to school, because I want to see different protocols.
And we're going to see who has the smartest kid. Right? We're going to judge.
Doing that.
No,
we're not doing that. No.
Everyone will be able to submit their protocols and their case studies, and then Dr. Ram and I are going to judge, and we're going to tell you if your kid is smart or not.
So if you submit a protocol, and we'll take the first 10. So when you do the protocol, and
So they're guaranteed to be in the top 10.
No, we're going to take the first 10
okay.
protocols, and then we're going to pick 5 people. Patrick, are you making sure that we do this?
Got it.
We're going to pick 5 people. We'll send them the template, Patrick, and then we'll have them present. And then for everyone that presents, I will let their children pick one product, and I will send them the product in their account.
Oh, we're going to.
I know
We'll just
10
send
and
them
Patrick
points
love
so
it
that-
when I do this. They're like, great, Christina's doing another thing. No, they really do.
Every
because-
day is Christmas.
So that's what we're going to do. So we have a Root U coming up, and Patrick, that's one of the things that we will lead, because I really want to look at, since we're launching CTC, the doctor brand, and since we have Root, I really want to support these children. I want us to show different ways that there's different protocols with the Root products that can help these kids in school. Here's my top 3. Everyone knows I love ReLive greens. And I love Clean Slate. But I also told them when they were doing the slide deck, we need natural barrier support, because right now, everyone should be
Flu
taking
season.
natural barrier support. because you're around so many things, and the vitamin D, the zinc, and the vitamin C is really important to add to what you're doing. But I do want to say this, your kids may need this with food because they could get nauseous if they don't. Now they could take it with ReLive grains, as you know, because that's what I do.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you do not want to take natural barrier support in water on its own.
Some people do though, but I can't.
Well, one of us has a tendency to dry heave
Clayton,
when they do it.
it's very strong, so you have to make sure that you're careful about
Well, it
all
just
that.
lets you know that it assimilates really quickly,
Yeah.
that everything is very bioavailable.
Yes.
And it works really good. So I'm going to touch on one of my favorites for kids in a little bit, but
You're getting ready to go into Clean Slate.
let's go.
Oh, you like Zero In.
Absolutely. If I had zero in when I was in school, I
Wait.
would have been class president.
We're going backwards.
Don't worry, it's one of our kids handling it.
He's
learning.
awesome.
He's learning.
He's
It's
learning.
going backwards.
Yeah, that's another thing. Be patient with your kids. One of the things that Clayton knows I can't stand, I don't like putting kids down. So you can discipline kids without making them feel bad about who they are. You got to use your tone of kindness. I mean, believe me, as a mother, sometimes that's hard. And you guys know that, but please make sure that you try to always be patient and kind. It's not my biggest strength in life, but it's something that
I'm really good at it.
you're not good
No,
at it.
I'm not.
Clayton and I both are trying continuously to show more patience, but your kids are amazing. I forget sometimes, oh my gosh, what was I like 20 or 30 or 40 years ago? Like, what was I like?
And
You got to remember that.
here's something it's been so difficult to understand this, because we literally grew up in a different time, right? To where what we grew up both on farms.
Yeah.
And the world that we grew up in is not what these kids are experiencing today.
Yeah.
We have zero frame of reference for the environment that kids of the last 3 years have grown in. One, their neurological development was delayed a bit. Their psychological development was delayed a little bit because, and even if you're homeschooling kids and you're doing everything you could the last 3 years, the level of psychological toxicity, environmental toxicity, and emotional toxicity that we've all experienced is something that we've never seen in society before, at least to this extent. And it has a major impact on us. So you really have to, you could say, handle it with kid gloves,
You do.
because we have no frame of reference. We're actually trying to parent in an environment of which everything that we
It's not
grew
the
up with
same.
has no frame of relevance anymore.
I like the fact that Astrid said today, though, the souls, and I believe this, we each have a different soul. We each have a different spirit. I love the fact that a lot of the kids that are here now in their, late teens, early 20s, they have a different soul than we do because they came here for probably a different mission.
Yep.
I really believe each one of your children, each one of you are here for an evolution of our bodies and our spirits and our minds and our souls. You got to remember what Clay said. That was so important what he said. It's different for them now. Don't compare them to what it was like when you were their age. It's a completely different story. So try to put yourself in their shoes. You still have to have rules. You still have to have boundaries. Kids need those. They need someone to say, what time are you coming home when they're 16 years old, right? They need you to say, are you safe when they're a girl and they're 17? They need you to check on them. But I'll say this, I was on my own when I was 17. I was in North Carolina, but I still needed to hear from my parents. I still needed to know that they loved me. And this goes back to the original comment. You got to make sure that they have that foundation of love. And I did see people ask, what if the kids are on medication? So remember, depending on the medication with Clean Slate, you can take it before or after. You can even wait an hour or 2 hours. We will address those questions later, and I'll bring those in even more. ReLive grains is usually fine with medication. Natural barrier support is usually fine with all medication, and Clean Slate is. But if you're worried, then wait for 45 minutes to 2 hours, or tell your kids to bring it to school. The great thing about Clean Slate and Zero In is you can take that with you to school. Natural barrier support and ReLive grains are a little bit harder. You would need to do those either in the morning or at night, because most kids aren't able to make smoothies and stuff at school. You want to talk about Clean Slate?
Oh, absolutely. It's the most important thing that you can do for kids right now. the biggest thing we face is environmental toxins. So
It's
whether
worse now, yeah.
so, and when you look at brain development, you look at neurological development, as we're talking about, one of the secrets, the underlying secrets to Clean Slate is what it can do in that aspect. One, for removing the toxins that inhibit, proper neurological function and development, but the delivery of the trace minerals and the delivery of the bioavailable silica, which allows the growth of new neural pathways, which allows the development. When you combine it with other nutrients, right? And I would throw Give Me Back My Youth in here being really, really important as well for growing tendons and ligaments and in connective
Especially with
tissue.
athletes. Well, actually all of them, because they're growing.
Well, and this brings up, if you follow athletes, right, and you follow high school athletes and even college athletes, you're seeing a ton of this, that we over the last 20 years, we have seen a massive explosion, I'll say, of connective tissue injuries in boys and girls, but especially in girls sports, that you're seeing torn ACLs,
Oh yeah. it's
torn
horrible.
knees, shoulder problems in boys and girls. And the training community won't ever see this. They won't understand it because they don't understand environmental toxicology. But when you start to look at heavy metals and you start to understand glyphosate and what glyphosate does, it damages connective tissue. So the weakness that is being created in the joints of these kids. So we've seen an increase in understanding of kinesiology and sports training to where kids are training earlier on. They're doing things athletically that are more advanced than I ever worked with, but they're also weaker than we've ever seen because they're more toxic. They're completely polluted because of the glyphosate, all the snacks that they eat, all the things that they shouldn't be eating. We shouldn't be eating, but we do it anyway. The things that they've been exposed to have created the weakness in us. So physically, you might look at some of these kids and say, wow, they're more athletic than we've ever been, but they're weak because the ligaments, the tendons that keep all of these muscle attached properly and working properly are very weak because of the toxicity issues that we have. So Clean Slate being able to address just that component alone is crucial in preventing injury. But then when you look at the effects that we've gone over 100,000 times of immune system function and cognitive function and emotional function and emotional dysfunction and psychological function, and how heavy metals and environmental toxins damage all those things, the removal of them is not important. It is the most important thing you do to your kids. And if you can't get them to take it, do what many women have told me they've done to their husbands who didn't listen. Just put it in a beverage and don't tell them. Right? Because they won't know. And guess what? You're doing very, very good for them because they need it. They have to have it. And if you teach them this, and one of the coolest things that I think we're going to see this year, because of a lot of the case studies we've had, we are going to see so many kids this year that last year, many of which were not even verbal. Last year. And now they're going to school and they're able to fully communicate. They're talking, they're going to class like they're not blocked. Some people will call it autism, but they're no longer in the spectrum that way because they've been cleaned up and they're functioning normally.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the opportunity to do some amazing things when you start to clean up the mess. So this is foundational.
I do want to say this though. I want to make sure I bring this up about autism and ADHD and OCD and different things. Once you clean a child up and they're doing better, they still emotionally are usually delayed. And you've got to remember that because they missed a segment of their life where they weren't able to really communicate. So they may seem, act, and look different, but remember to be patient because they're still catching up emotionally. If that makes you understand any better, I want people to understand that.
Absolutely. So let's go to the next one.
About you talking about yourself?
I have low self-esteem, which is not true. I'm self-deprecating for a reason. And I
Yeah,
do have
Clayton-
6 followers on social media, just so you know.
Clayton does not have low self-esteem, just so you know.
I'm the most arrogant breed of athlete God ever created.
Yeah.
We did not have problems with self-esteem.
Patrick, what do you think about that? He
He's not
doesn't.
arguing. He's like, nope.
Definitely
Any-
doesn't.
Anyone that knows Clayton, it's not. In fact, in our argument yesterday, that was one of my points. Is that is not an issue, Clay has. Which was one of the reasons I love him.
It's why I can teach this subject very well for kids, being confident in yourself, because no one else is going to be confident in you until you're confident. And arrogance is actually a good thing. It actually is defined as supreme confidence in whatever you're doing. So you should have a certain level of arrogance, because if you are doing things to learn how to do something and do it well, and you know you're good at it, that is arrogance. That's not a bad thing.
And by the way, I just had my oldest son just brought me tea, Duquesne, and because of my throat, and I have hot tea. And then I usually, if I were home right now, I would add natural barrier support, but I haven't eaten, which is today.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Either-
thank you, Clay, for saying that, because yeah, Clay does not have low self-esteem, but he does always joke about having 6 followers.
And I
that's
do
not
have
true.
6 followers. If you follow our Instagram live that we had both of our
It's
IG
not
lives
true.
going, I had 6 followers.
Let's get back to what we should do for kids. And
Well, natural barrier support is important. Why?
natural barrier support is amazing because of the vitamin C, how it's supporting and creating a barrier. So it's not just supporting, again, it's creating a barrier for pathogens, which is really important. It also stimulates white blood cells. And I want to make sure people know that. And it helps the immune system really ramp up. It was so odd during the pandemic, they lowered in some countries how much vitamin C you could take, which is why our dosing's different. And you're going to see a few more changes with the new natural barrier support that's coming out. You're going to see some great changes in the bottle, a little bit update on the natural barrier support. We're almost out, to let you guys know.
Good.
We have a couple of products that we are almost out of. Give Me Back My Youth and natural barrier support.
Oh,
And it's, extremely important that even though this is a basic, you guys understand, because again, this vitamin C helping with the pathogens, helping with your immune system, the white blood cells, all of it.
hit on this a little bit, and in the formula that you put in with natural barrier support, because not all vitamin C is good vitamin C, but the vitamin C, D, and zinc, you have so many companies that are selling formulas like this or promoted it, but none of them have a bioscience engineering background, and none of them have the research backgrounds that you have. So one, this product is actually less expensive than most of the stuff on the market, which too is crazy because the ingredients are the highest quality, but they are intelligently designed to make sure that you get the right amounts of each component,
with
because they
microdosing.
can be a catalyst
Yeah.
of one another when done properly.
Yeah. And then I have to tell you, this came about because people kept getting sick, and I knew this was a basic that people were missing and they needed to take. I also noticed that governments were lowering the vitamin C, the zinc, and the vitamin D. And I know some of you guys on the call will say, well, you can have too much zinc or too much vitamin D. I know that's a Google thing with WebMD, and there's some issues with that when it comes to things. But honestly, I've done IVs of extremely high doses of vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc. I know Patrick has too. We're both into IVs. When we met with all the doctor groups, this is great to tell you guys, because I want you guys to see how we approach this. We addressed this, and it went really well with some of the doctor groups as, okay, you guys have IVs and you have things that you're treating patients with, but they need prevention. They need wellness every day. So let's work with you. And when they take your product, send them home with things so that they get better, so that you support wellness, so that you don't keep getting calls when they're sick, but so that they know that you care. And it was a really great meeting. And like I said, I just got an amazing text about it I have to share with our team, but that was a natural way to share that. So when you're going into doctor's offices, if you're talking about root, or if you're bringing in the CTC brand, which we're working diligently on right now to get the website up, make sure you're explaining to them, this isn't replacing their knowledge. This is adding to what they do. Doctors do understand they need vitamin C and zinc. They know that zinc is important to regulate cytokines. They understand that it needs to activate the immune cells, and it helps with the respiratory system, which is one of the reasons I'm drinking this right now. And it reduces the duration of severe cold symptoms. So what was that? That was a loud noise in the office. So it's really important, the zinc. I had a lot of the community, Clay, that asked me about zinc and what kind of zinc, and asked me about how much is needed. And I can tell you guys, it's extremely needed. And I chose the vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. That was the best sourcing I could find. Again, I looked at GMOs, I looked at heavy metals, I looked at sourcing organic and natural, and did the best case possible microdosing so you guys would have a concentrated vitamin C, zinc, and vitamin D. The reason it's not in a pill is I wanted you guys to be able to add it to a smoothie, to take different doses, because I do understand that governments have regimens on dosing, but sometimes you even need more. We don't claim to tell governments what to do. We don't want to control them, but we want to support individuals at making the best choice for their own body and for their children.
You're actually going to be doing that in 2 weeks. You're going to be telling governments what to do when she's speaking in front of the G20.
Yeah, at the G20, I'm going to be talking about this, how important it is that we're supporting our kids, that we're supporting our own health, that we are not for depopulation, that we are for greatness of each individual on this earth. And again, vitamin D is one of those standards. Listen, guys, if I'm not taking our products, like before all of this, I was constantly vitamin D deficient. When you age, as women and men, guys, you're vitamin D deficient. But a lot of kids right now, they don't know why. I think I know why. They're saying they don't know why they have these deficiencies. I think it's because we're continuously being attacked by these heavy metals and these environmental factors, and we need to support our bodies.
One more thing you can do with your kids, since it's still summertime and they're going back to school, throw them outside in the sun. Don't let them stay inside. Make sure they go outside.
Yeah, make sure that they
Kids don't even have PE anymore.
What?
Yeah, they don't even have PE. I was playing pickleball when I was a kid. Now it's popular amongst old people.
They don't, some schools have PE.
They better.
Well,
I mean, not
one
what I've
academy
seen.
had.
Yeah, you've gotta be outside. You've got to go get dirty, go play in the dirt, go eat
Get
some dirt.
dirty. I agree with Clayton. I used to work for a company called UCB with Crohn's disease and colitis. One of the biggest issues is we don't let our kids get dirty. One of the biggest issues is we're not around things that have bacteria in it and different kinds of viruses. You've got to build up an immune system. And again, guys, speaking from a cancer survivor, a person that had Lyme's disease, our products don't make you never get sick. Here's what they do. They help support your bodies to be the best body possible. I have weaknesses. I was sick as a kid, but these products have given me the opportunity to have the best health in my life because I'm supporting my body, knowing that my body's weak. My body's not perfect.
Your
I
body
have a
looks
lot.
perfect to me.
I have a lot of issues, but I can't feel sorry for myself. I've just got to keep supporting my body to be the best it can be.
I love your body.
Thank you.
Oh,
Let's go to the next slide.
next one, number 3.
So my favorite product.
Now there's vitamin C, D, and zinc in ReLive Greens.
Greens is like everyone's asking about the aminos and the peptides. So a shout out to Slovenia and Andre and Monica. Yes, I've been working on that for over a year. Yes, there's one ingredient I could not source until December. I could have replaced it with something else, but I needed that ingredient in it. So we should be done with that production in December and ready to launch it. But ReLive Greens has aminos and it has all the different things the body needs in it as well. And people don't realize that. I take 3 teaspoons, and Clayton knows this, Ted knows it, Patrick knows it. If I don't take this, I get sick.
What you're saying that plants and like spirulina and algae and plankton, all of these things have nutrients in them.
They do, but I want to say this because I want to give a shout out again to some of you guys who I'm communicating with right now. Chlorophyll, chlorella, spirulina, they detox your body too, right? And they supplement it, but it can bind to heavy metals and there can be issues unless it's made the right way. Rest assured, I understood that when I made this product. I looked at the GMOs, I looked at kosher, I looked at halal, I looked at all the information. Patrick and Clay, I'm going to make you guys excited right now.
Oh, talk.
Ted would be excited about this too, all 3 of you. We got the certificates of analysis and more testing, more kosher, more halal on every single ingredient that I was working on. It came last night. We got more this morning. So we have a lot of great information to really add to the validity of our products, to make sure that people that are Jewish, people that are Muslim, people of all different religions are able to take our products. And we'll be pushing that out however we decide is the best way possible as a team. But I want you guys to know we are dedicated to continuously trying to provide as much information. That being said, sometimes it's hard to get all the information at once. So we continuously are striving. I was on the phone today. I think, were you on the phone yesterday with me with Lauren? So Patrick, we were working on the quality.
I walked in when you were talking to Lauren.
Yeah, we were talking on, did you get all the information?
You rub my shoulder that way again, I'm gonna start kicking my leg like
No,
a dog.
did you make sure you sent over the information?
Which information?
You were supposed to send it from some of the products because I didn't
Yes,
have.
I'm doing
Yeah,
that.
because we're trying to make sure you guys have additional things to push out to customers.
As if there wasn't enough already.
But there's a lot. And the only thing I have to say is that we have so many things to do on our plate that it's one of the many things that we're continuously striving to do. But we are going for greatness. We understand that for doctors to use our products and for all people of all spirituality to use our products, we need to continue to provide these things.
It's funny that we're all the same, yet we try to all be different.
Yeah. Well, so tell me, so my favorite thing, just so you know, about this whole product is a spirulina. It was a very hard to source. It's a game changer. I feel like it was one of the things that saved my life when I had a brain tumor. And I always say this, I'm thankful for ReLive Greens because it's the one product along with Clean Slate. Well, actually Clean Slate, Zero In, and ReLive Greens are essential for me, or there's an issue because I really need them to make me be able to do the things that I want to do.
Well, in a time when it's so hard to find really good sources of nutrients, and produce is shooting through the roof and it's getting more expensive, and the term organic doesn't mean what you think it means, because now if it's grown in the soil, they can spray it with whatever pesticides they want and it's still deemed to be organic. You know, that you have sources, and you can poison your kids with good stuff, because most kids aren't going to eat large amounts of green leafy vegetables, and they're not going to eat the stuff that they need to eat, especially in today's fast moving environment. That this gives you something that you can make a smoothie with. What I like to do, because pineapple juice is a superfood for O's, I do frozen banana in my pineapple juice with my greens and my Give Me Back My Youth, and I shotgun it. But you can do your macadamia milk, as I like to do.
You
for
made
you.
mine this morning at
I did.
3 a.m.
Yes, I did.
Clayton
I
made-
was so excited.
I just saw the two models that are the two male models that in the picture with Patrick. Patrick and Kreider will be modeling in New York.
Oh,
And,
they're taking pictures.
and
of
they're taking
themselves.
pictures of themselves. They already think they're models. Hey, I want to say this though. Listen, Sunday night I was cooking. Kreider came in, Merritt came in. I made a whole thing of carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, peas. What else? Garlic,
Yep, and I was the only one that ate them,
asparagus. That's not true. We all ate them.
and they were good.
And we had
All
salad.
the
So
garlic.
you still need to incorporate proteins and greens into your diet to support what you're doing. It's really, really important. I'm trying to read the text. I know we're getting a lot. I can't keep up.
Say
with all of
hello to my little friend.
it. Thank you, Biggie, for saying that. Yeah, organic now is
The male models, I am the male model. I walk around like I'm on a runway at home, so she always has something to admire. Every once in a while, I wear heels.
Clayton's always looking at himself in the mirror. Patrick, I'm like, stop looking at yourself in the mirror. We're
Especially after
talking.
Mandu, you're like, oh, wait a minute. I'm
No,
looking svelte.
We are doing a video shoot all day. You guys are going to love the video shoot
Oh,
interviews
man.
that are coming out about root and the story of root and how it was formulated. We were doing, I don't know if Patrick's even seen the.
Nope, he hasn't.
Have you seen it, Patrick? You
No,
weren't
he's
here
not.
last night.
It's not his turn.
Patrick, listen, Clayton goes, where was Patrick last night? I go, Clayton, it was like 7:00, Patrick. He goes, is Patrick okay? I go, we didn't ask him to stay. We got to see a sneak preview of some of the stuff that we're going to show you guys, and it was really awesome. But I was going to tell you guys, so we're doing the video shoot. Clayton takes his shirt off.
What? I went.
you didn't have a shirt on. The video crew comes, Patrick, and I'm
I
like,
did?
and Karen Floyd's coming, and I'm like, please put your shirt on.
When? Last night?
No, during the video shoot.
Oh, yes. But I mean, we needed comedic relief.
Patrick, I'm like, please put your shirt on. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. He is not, he does not, he has a good self-esteem. He has a lot of confidence, and Zero In even adds to his confidence.
The most important person to love is yourself. And now
Your favorite product.
we get to hit on my favorite.
Yeah.
Something that if you have younger kids, you don't have to give them a full capsule. You can take the capsule and put half or a quarter in yogurt or in different stuff. And I'm going to tell you, if you're afraid of this, this is the first supplement that I've ever seen that people are actually afraid of. What did you take 5-0 in?
We got 5 minutes, Clay, because we're late in a meeting. Sorry.
So we're late for a meeting. We got so many things to go
This
through.
is my fault this time. It's usually Clay's. I'm talking too much this
Zero
time.
in is so important because of being able to endogenously, naturally give your gut what it needs to produce the dopamine and the serotonin to be relaxed, but to be hyper focused. And dopamine improves cognitive function. It improves retention. So it's insanely important, one, to be able to pay attention in class. I was the one that never paid attention in class, but you can pay attention, you retain what you're saying. Don't look at me like that. I lose.
No, I have a meeting right now, so I'm going to have to go. I wanted to tell everyone bye and let Clayton finish. And Patrick, are you able to finish this with Clay?
I'll take over.
Because I've got a meeting and I'm late, and I apologize.
Who are you?
Before I go, though, I want to say this. On each route you call, I would like to incorporate 1 or 2 of you guys talking. On the Instagram, we want to too. We're trying to figure out, because I know Regina has done it as well. So when you guys are when you're doing the Instagram lives and we put you guys on, just remember that we have an audience that a lot of the people aren't root people. And because of the volume of people, and sometimes we have 2, 3, 5,000 people on those. So when you talk, make sure that they're not questions that are going to cause people to be confused. Our goal with Instagram is to bring people into our community and not stress about it. So I am going to try to bring a couple of you guys on tomorrow's Instagram so that we can start introducing the root community. I do have to go. I'm so thankful for you guys. And I am so appreciative of what you guys are all doing. Just so you know, because I get texts when I start talking about bullying or abuse. I don't think anyone in this group does that. I just want you guys to know that every once in a while that does happen and we can't allow it. I also want you guys to know that we are so thankful for the community. We're thankful that we make mistakes and then we grow. I'm going to hand it over to Clayton and
so they can see more mistakes.
And I will talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing, amazing day. You have questions, you've 2 at the top.
Oh, but
I see
so here's the one
Bernard and I
important
see
thing with
Regina.
0 in is we package 0 in strategically to make it convenient to take with you, right? So your kids can take it with you. But here's one thing that as a parent, you have to teach your children that I had to teach our kids after they'd already done it. And I'll give Kreider credit for this because he was the culprit. Tell your kids that they are not allowed to pass out pills at school if they're taking them and they love them and their friends want them.
Talk to the parents.
You have to talk to the parents. And why do you want to talk to the parents? Because then you can teach your kids a little bit about entrepreneurialism.
That's right.
The fact that they can have a code and they can share with their friends' parents, their friends can buy them for their parents, and then maybe your kids can start spending money of their own and see how they value that versus spending what their parents make. There's a good lesson in that. But 0 in, honestly, is the most valuable weapon of performance I've ever seen. If, regardless of their age, they're going to do better in school. You're going to have kids that perform better athletically. And if you've got kids that are competing in different aspects, or just exercising in general, or if you want them to become more active, and there's so many kids now because of the toxicity issues that we have that have social anxiety. That term never existed when I was a kid, social anxiety. I don't know why you would be anxious about being social, right? I'm anxious about being left alone. And one of my punishments growing up, because I grew up in a veterinary practice, is if I was really out of line, I got locked in a padded cell, actually where we put the horses when they were giving birth that they could romp around and not hurt themselves. Rubber floors, padded walls, couple times I got locked in there. One time my mom left me in there for 8 hours. I was not traumatized. I actually figured out how to get out on my own. But these opportunities are not available to everyone. So you have to make sure that you're giving kids the opportunity to be active. And if you have higher levels of dopamine and serotonin, you're going to feel good. You don't have fear, right? Fear doesn't exist if you have high levels of dopamine and serotonin. So why would you want to live in an environment where you don't feel absolutely outstanding? So zero in for everyone. And it won't hurt you because it's all intention controlled. So it's proof positive that you create your own environment. But then we go to the next one. And we go from yellow to yellow because of how powerful turmeric is. But Immune Defense Shield is something that everybody should be taking. And when I came back from Miami last week and got a little sick, I took 6 of these to go along with a few other things to knock out what I was, because I needed a boost of NAD. And with what Dr. Ram has done, this is the only product on the market that is in a capsule that has NAD in its precursors that's stabilized to be shelf stable longer than 90 days. It's the only product in the category. This is so important. Just one little capsule for kids a day. If you can get it in them, you can open it and put it in stuff. But NAD is the basic power. It's the battery that allows your mitochondria to create power, right? So you can think of the mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell, is what everyone talks about. And we have mitochondria in every cell of the body. It's the NAD that gives the powerhouse the energy to do what it does. Higher levels of NAD, higher function, right? So when you look at having a lower level of NAD, that means your mitochondria, your body can't produce enough energy. That means different aspects of your body aren't going to work properly. One of those happens to be your immune system. Kind of important. So this is really, really important and really beneficial. But if I was in the list of things to go down, this would be in the top 5. But we know where the top 3 or 4 are so far. And then there's the orange bomb of greatness. Who doesn't like orange creamsicles? And it's still summertime. So parents, cut off the top, like the little top there, stick a popsicle stick in it, throw them in the freezer, and then cut them open. Restore popsicles are amazing. But what Restore is able to do for improving gut health is absolutely imperative. It tastes good. It's amazing for digestion. It's a massive anti-inflammatory, which is important in kids because they don't even know what that means. And, their gastrointestinal systems are so sensitive. We're not going to make claims, but do you know where allergies come from other than being injected into you? Your gut. If you have a leaky gut, things get into your bloodstream that aren't supposed to get there. When these little particles and things get into your bloodstream, your immune system responds to it by creating an anaphylactic response, an inflammatory response as it tries to attack those things that got in there. Well, that's how allergies are created. But if you can allow your gut to heal and you bring that leaky gut together, those things don't leach in there. If you use a little clean slate and you clean that stuff up, the allergies go away. So Restore, if you have kids with allergies, you want to make sure your kids don't have allergies. Very, very important. And, even little bits for babies. So you got that. We hit it. There's only 12 references that you can use to explain what we just went over. That's not true. There's lots of references, but those are the basics. We'll take a minute. We will go with the ladies. Isn't it funny that no men raise their hand? Because men are afraid to ask questions in a group environment that's loaded with a bunch of smart women. And Verena is never afraid to ask a question.
No, I'm not. And in this case, it's not a question. I just wanted to give you some terms of references for kids nowadays, because this was one of the reasons why I did an interview with Alina and Matthias about kids' health this year. The orthodontist of my kids told me when we talked about the COVID vaccine and the impact it had on kids, she said 70 to 80% of the kids she's seeing, and these are kids between 8 and 18 years old, 70 to 80% have no longer the energy level they used to have. And I was so shocked. She's very sensitive, so she can feel it. And I was so shocked. So I did some research and then talked to Alina and Matthias. And I found one document published by the German Federal Agency for Environmental whatever studies. And this is a figure from this year that over 90% of kids and teens have high levels of lead, arsenic, phthalate, PFAS, and parabens. And more than 50% of kids have high levels of mercury, antimony, cadmium, and so on, and glyphosate. So 1 in 2 kids have really toxic levels already.
Well, the interesting part of that, I would, it's not often that I argue with literature like that, but I will argue that their 50% number on mercury is actually 50% low.
Could be.
But the hard part is with mercury, and this is something that's important for everybody to understand when we talk mercury toxicity as well as other metals. The traditional methods that practitioners use to identify metals in people are insufficient. They're actually inaccurate because mercury is the worst neurotoxin known to man. So being a neurotoxin, doing a blood test or doing a hair test is not going to find anything because it's not going there. It ends up in tissue, it ends up in your brain, it ends up in your central nervous system. Now, if you wanted to do a very good analysis to find out what kind of metals you have in yourself or in your kids, you can do biopsies, but I haven't found anybody that's really, really open to doing biopsies while they're still living, because that would be painful as all get out, having somebody stick a needle in you and basically take a core sample out of you from different areas. And that's the only way you're going to do it. Now, what you can do is, one, understand that regardless of where you're from, you're completely freaking polluted. You are. It's guaranteed, because we're a byproduct of our families, and these metals are passed down maternally. Metals and toxins, all the other stuff that we've been exposed to, it's all passed down maternally. So we know that we're loaded in this stuff. And we're in the process through ISNS of having a lot of these labs available. So you'll be able to work with practitioners. Practitioners will be able to have labs available if you don't already have them. We will be doing a lot here in the United States with doctors to make sure that they have the protocols of not just what products they can use, but what lab testing they can and should be doing as to what markers they should be looking at and identifying as to how to watch this. But if you're doing a urine excretion analysis for heavy metals or other pollutants and environmental chemicals, you want to do a baseline. And the baseline is unprovoked. So it's just pee in a cup in the morning. We'll send it to the lab and you're going to see what's coming out. Because excretion is the primary method of getting all these things out. You have sweat, you have breath, you have stool, but urine excretion is one of the primaries. You won't see a lot coming out, but then you have the opportunity to start using Clean Slate. You can use the other ones, and you can do this for a week. You can start with 1 drop. You can titrate up. You can start with 5. You can start with 10, however you want to do it. And then you do a follow-up test, just doing whatever protocol you're following. And then you send that into the lab. And here's what happens. You get those results back. You'll see what starts to come out. And Dr. Bob Martin, I've done a bunch of shows with him so far. He's 30 years in practice. He has a syndicated radio show that he's had for 30 years with 5 million listeners, apparently, in 500 cities across the United States. And he's a medical doctor with an integrative history as well, that's done chelation therapy and detoxification for his patients for a long time. He's seen over 30,000 patients. And I had him do this, had him do his baseline. And then we put him on Clean Slate and let him go for a week. And then we did a follow-up test. He's never seen results like this before in his entire 30 years of clinical practice. He's one of my biggest advocates right now, and he's not an ambassador, right? But he's raving about what this product is doing, that no product that he's ever seen has done this before. It's done it in him and his wife, scared his wife pretty significantly because her baseline showed nothing coming out, nor did his. A week later, they're throwing sparkles. So you have to have the understanding that while the literature will say, oh, it's 50% of kids are loaded in this stuff. No, it's 100%. You just can't see it. It's so important to understand that there's not a single being on this planet, human or animal, that is not completely polluted. Now, the manifestation of symptoms is going to vary, and the difference between boys and girls is going to vary. Right? Girls, you're going to see endocrine and reproductive issues. You're going to see girls going into puberty at the age of 10 and 12. I remember when I was growing up, girls would go into puberty at like 14 or 16. They're progressively getting younger. And we can get into satanic pedophilia and why they would do that, why they would want young girls looking like older girls in the first place, but that's not for topic of conversation today. Boys, you see neurological issues, which is why you see ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, and autism in boys more prevalently, but you see different in girls because the neurotoxic metals and these heavy metals, because they're also endocrine disruptors and they're also hormone mimetic. So based on your sexuality, not how you identify, but how you really are, you're going to see the effects differently in boys versus girls. So this is important to understand. There's not a single individual that doesn't need what we have because we're all freaking polluted from the jump. So we can't get away from it. So Verena, that's amazing. I want that research. Please send it to me too.
Already
now-
put it in the chat.
Yeah, no, don't do it in the chat. Just put it to me on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Perfect. And now it's not often that we get to be graced by the Queen.
Hi, Clay. Clay, I just want to mention something because everybody may be known that I don't have any kids. So the things you talk about before, it touches me very much because I would have liked to have some, but I don't have. But what I do is I speak to different kids many of the time because the parents coming to me telling, okay, he's not listening to me. He don't want to, or she don't want to take this or this. I have to put it somewhere to escape the things that they don't feel, like you mentioned before, that they take it or they get it. And sometimes I didn't get it in them. So they come to me, and me, as you know, I am like, I have a branding like you mentioned that I was called the Queen. So the people say, I bring you to the Queen. You listen to her, what she's going to tell them. And then I talk to the kids and I say, okay, listen to me. And then I am telling them the same what her mom told them 100 times before, but they don't listen to their parents. Everybody who had kids, they know. But me, they listen, and then most of them have an own telephone, a mobile phone, and then I say, okay, we are connected, you and me. I give you my personal phone number, and every day I want to have some sign from you. You send me an emoji or whatever. How do you feel today with this? We make a plan together. You promise me you do it, and then I tell them, give me 5. I do this on the screen, and they promise me they will do it. And I think 99% it works. I just want to mention, if you don't have kids, you can do it the same. That's all.
It is so true of the mentorship aspect that's important with friends, because Regina, you hit on something that's so crucial. And Ted and I actually talk about this because we both have, you know, our teenage boys and such. And, you know, we've kind of made a deal that he communicates with mine. I'll communicate with his when they're needed, because familiarity breeds contempt, and you're never going to listen to your parents because you know that they're not smarter than you. But if someone else is telling you, then you go, oh, I'm going to listen to you because I have to listen to adults, but I won't listen to my parents. So it's good. So then parents can tell the friends what they need to tell the kids. So you're getting the message through the correct message in the medium.
I want just to add something. I do it for the sidelines and cross lines as well. If somebody needs me for this, they can come to me and ask me for this. I'm going to do it for everybody. Nobody has to be in my own downline. I don't ask for this.
Well, the other part that's really important when you're in public, and I love doing this because kids like crazy, you know, so they see me and they're like, he has crazy hair, he has crazy glasses.
Yeah.
If you're not out and about and you don't smile at kids and you don't show them that humanity actually has love in it, and you can't get a kid to smile like babies or toddlers, because kids, young children actually don't see faces and everything. They see energy. Just so you know, they see light. They see what you really are, because they're not hindered by all of the indoctrination that we go through. They're still unlocked. So the more you do to show them that there is more light, the more they're going to understand that what they're seeing is how things should be, because we have to teach them to be the next version. And what we know, we're all about creating greatness. So the more you can do to make somebody smile, even the little ones, is so crucial. And it's one of the coolest things, because then you get a kid laughing and you look at the parents and go, he's laughing at you because you look funny. And it's great times. But it's the filtering put on my forehead. I'm not filtered. What are we talking about? Am I filtered? What? Who said I'm filtered? I hope I'm not filtered. I hate filters. I need my wrinkles. I'm like good apple juice. I'm completely unfiltered. If I'm filtered, I'm going to be pissed. Pat, am I filtered?
Never filtered.
Good. We don't use filters here. What are we talking about? I'm just dead sexy. Man,
That's a natural, baby.
that's right. This is Reno, and Give Me Back My Youth, and Clean Slate, and copious amounts of Zero In. It's quite true.
We've gone off the rails.
Man, if we had Zero In as an IV, you would think I had a colostomy bag, because I would have that thing just stuck in me like on a constant drip. Like, just like, doc, keep it coming. Let's go. But let me see here. Nurse Christy, now we have to see, this has been like 3 times now. She got on at the beginning, she got on in the middle, and we have to see if she just kept her hand raised or if she has intent. As my phone rings. Hold on. Getting a call from Nashville, Arkansas. I think that's a fake number. There's no Nashville in Arkansas. Christy, do you like have your hand raised for a purpose? You don't?
Yes.
Or do you? Well, why don't you participate?
Okay, first of all, colostomy is going out and IV is going in. So you don't want a colostomy.
I said I'd have it plugged in like a colostomy bag. Don't judge me.
You have me laughing so hard. All right. You talked about allergies, and I want you guys to know that a year ago, September is when I started the Trinity Pack, and I took eye drops, I took nose spray, I took oral allergy medications, I used inhalers for steroidal inhalers and rescue inhalers, and I could say that today I don't use any of it.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay.
I told Big Pharma to suck it.
Hold
I
on.
just
Do
wanted
you
guys
have a
to-
bumper sticker for that?
I'm gonna make one.
That's not bad. It's the interesting part of, doing the little things and just watching how the body changes, right? Because it really is this simple. And we continually beat on the process of trying to teach, and we will continually do this because it's the slow process. Birgit was sending me a message this morning of the 17 text she sent me that
So-
Alfred knows. And she's like, people are looking at other stuff and they're doing other stuff. I'm like, yeah, of course people are going to do other stuff. They're going to try stuff. They're going to chase fairy dust. They're going to do whatever. But there's the absolutes that what we're doing doesn't change. And the interesting part is, the sun, the moon, and the truth, they all come out. It's the sound of inevitability. And
right.
all you have to do is walk. I was supposed to do an interview with Nicholas Vignamin earlier, and I was going to do that. I was going to do the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, because I'm just going to roast everybody that's just been trash. And it's unfortunate that we're now seeing a lot of the truth come out. You've seen America's frontline doctors and all of this stuff, and all these doctors that come together, and the person that did it, while she went to prison for some stuff, she stole $30 million. You go, I don't know if that's an integrity. And you have other doctors that have been telling people that if you get these injections that you're going to go to hell and you're going to die. Well, she lost her medical license because she's such a great practitioner. And they said, you can have your medical license back if you go through a psychological analysis, and she won't do it because we know she's going to fail. So you look at these things and you go, you know what? All we're going to do is continue to do the things we're doing. And we know why we do it, and we know who we do it for and because of. And it's this right here, right? All we are is the messenger. I just get to carry the luggage. So great. And the byproduct of that is we get to see continual changes. And sometimes, change doesn't happen quickly, right? And oftentimes when it does happen quickly, it's artificial and it doesn't last very long. And it's a matter of being consistent and just watching things go. And I think we're going to see professional sports change dramatically over the next couple of years because we're getting our hands on people, right? And we've seen so many great things from Europe so far. And you could start telling, we've got Ben Bolton. And if you're not a golf fan, well, we got a 15-year-old to all support heavily, because this kid's going to start torching the golf community. As of a couple weeks ago, when he won the European Championships for the under 16s, this is going to be a lot of fun, because you're going to see these youngins that are on the Trinity, that are on ReLive, that are doing stuff, that are going to start to excel in the things that they do. And we see the same thing in the other side. We have geriatrics that are absolutely crushing life. We got to see that last week on the ambassador call when Bishop Jim O'Connor. I've never put up 320 pounds in my life, and you watched a guy go 11 reps, 13 reps, 14 reps. Those were all PRs. You don't get stronger in the third set. These things don't make sense, but that's what we do here, because we create greatness. Right. So
I have a question.
Well, I have an answer. It might not be accurate and it might not coincide with your question, but let's go.
All right. Yesterday, I saw Patrick waving something in front of the camera. And then today,
was it his t-shirt? Did he take his t-shirt off? And was he?
He did not.
Definitely took my t-shirt off.
He had samples. And I
not
have
samples.
Right. I've been getting a lot of questions about proteins, and especially lab grown proteins, and how healthy are the proteins that we're getting versus amino acids, which is what the proteins break down. It's the amino acid chains.
It's a very good question. A very, very good question. So as a former athlete, because I'm not as athletic as I used to be, because now I'm old and I've beat myself up to where I can't train the way I like to anymore. Don't tear your hamstring on national TV. It's painful. So natural sources are ideal, but unfortunately, depending upon how active you are, as I see Luana drinking some fluids and everything, Luana's a phenomenal example of this because she's a bodybuilder, she's a trainer, she's a physical specimen because of the amount of work she puts in. If you want to maintain an ideal physique, it's very difficult to eat the real, like the animal meat that you need, the amount of eggs and true protein sources that you need to maintain a healthy body consistently. Now, the artificial stuff that they're starting to grow, these lab grown meats, I wouldn't feed that shit to my dog. Now, if you have a nanobiotechnologist that is sourcing stuff properly, and what Dr. Ram is going over in why it's taken so long to put this formula together, one of the key components is a proprietary phytoplankton that has clinicals up the wazoo for what it does from a protein standpoint and as a complete supplement. And then combining that with strategic branch chain amino acids and a couple other components and a couple peptides that give your body what it needs to lean out. I mean, the clinical data on this stuff, you lose like 8% body fat in like 60 days. I mean, I was 4% body fat in college. I'm not now. I was like a really lean filet mignon back then, which I don't like filet. I like ribeye. So I'm well marbled now. And so there's always the component of eating as good as possible. But whether you're vegan, and I've never seen vegans have really ideal muscle content because you can't get the protein, you can't get the amino acids you need. This is going to be something that's going to give you the tools that your body needs, that it can easily assimilate into the tools that you need to create muscle, to create other tissue. And bottom line is this: I don't trust many people to design stuff that I will consume. The one person that I trust the most is the one person that was sitting next to me here. And trust me, she's smarter than all of us combined. You guys get to see this much of what she really is and what she really does. And she does it with the sole intent of actually benefiting everyone. And that's something that's really rare. She doesn't do anything for making money. She doesn't do anything inexpensively. And if you get to see my wife's closet, you'll know nothing is cheap. Right? So you have to know going in that her intention is exactly what she says it is. She wants to help people. She wants everyone to be better. She wants people to be the best versions of themselves. And as we go into these next 2 years, because what she was told 5 years ago, was that this campaign that we were going to see was going to be 3 bad years. And then 2 were going to be horrific. And we're in year 3. So, and there is a campaign that is going on to do a bunch of things. She's been to Davos. I'll be back there in February. I might go in Glorious Bastards. You never know. I might take one for the team and just blow up the building. I would never do that, but that would be funny. If you know that I don't come back and you say there was an explosion, let's go. But there are campaigns that people want to do these things. They want to destroy the food supply. So if you can't get the quality of the food from other sources, you're not going to get it from the shelf, right? And I think we went over this a week ago or 2 weeks ago for people that have chickens. I mean, I never thought of this. I got to thank Julie Aarons for this, because Julie's the one that showed me this stuff. Feeding Restore to chickens and putting it in their chicken feed and mixing it in and feeding your chickens. The eggs get bigger. What? Seriously? How cool is that? And if you throw some chili flakes in there, because chickens can't taste heat, you get spicy, beautiful, huge eggs. And you know the crazy part that she told me that we didn't talk about? The chickens now waddle like this because their butts hurt because the eggs are so big. So it's kind of crazy. The chickens are now bow-legged because the eggs are so big. It's outstanding. So, yep. And the yolks are red. It's amazing. So and here's the thing about community, right? This is what's so important. And we have this where we live, is we have friends that have chickens. We have friends that have gardens, and, you know, we all share, right? We have, you know, people in our community that have grass-fed beef. And I got grass-fed beef a while ago because I don't even trust it anymore, right? And it's the hard part. You try to eat as well as you can, but you're going to have to plan accordingly. You have to be prepared. And, you know, honestly, I know that I've talked to some people, and now they have like 2 months. They keep like 2 months of a supply of Trinity and ReLive greens and Give Me Back My Youth. I keep probably a 6 or a 7 month supply in our pantry. And I buy it. Just so you know, I use my points just like anybody else does, because I can't sneak it all out of our closet here, because we end up having samples and giving it away. And I bought 30 bags of coffee. I stopped drinking coffee when I was 9, but I have espresso every morning, almost every morning now. And we do our coffee enemas with coffee, which is outstanding. So, I know, Regina, it's crazy how they give the big eggs. It's like with ladies having a 15-pound baby. I mean, how that happens, I don't know. So I got a dead mouse, Birgit. Where? Send it. So, you know, it's important to make sure that we're planning on stuff. And, you know, there's things that we can change, things that we can't change, and things that you can plan for. And, you know, this last component, the aminos, is so crucial, because it's something. This was one of my requests. Give Me Back My Youth was one of my requests, right? Because I wanted something that had collagen and colostrum, because I understood the benefits of it. And the aminos, I'll tell you guys right now, when we get the aminos, I'm going to get shredded, just so you know, because I'm going to be slamming this stuff a few times a day. My protein content's going to shoot through the freaking roof, and I'm going to get freaking yoked. And then I'll be walking around the office without a shirt on saying, "Look at me now." Because right now I walk around the house that way, just so I can make sure that the dogs know, oh, he's boss. Like, that's right. So, but that comes with self-esteem, right? You should always be happy with your appearance, even if you don't like it, because you have the ability to change it and you're responsible for it. So don't ever hate yourself for what you look like. Love yourself, but if you need to make updates, do it. Control, Alt, Delete, right? That's what we do. Update. So, rings back, measures. Yeah, masks and lockdowns. It's all chaos, and don't worry about it. I think everybody here has learned that non-compliance is better than compliance when it comes to stupid directives. So we'll see. It's going to be funny if they try to do that now and everybody goes, I just don't think this one's going to work this time. Just going to say no. So it'll be fun. We did good. Everybody gets their Rom Thomas University credit for today. Everybody gets 2 points. Coming next year. Rom Thomas University it's accredited. We already have the accreditation. We're putting together all the stuff. See, won't it be fun that like next year we'll be able to do these. We'll just give you college credit for it. Maybe we'll go back and we'll see how everybody who was on this gets college credit. Why not? Because this is a better education than you're going to get in medical school, taught by a doctor that was an adjunct professor in oncology at Johns Hopkins. It's kind of the best education you're going to get. So there we go. Birgit, we're going to make sure that Birgit gets her doctorate. And when we give Birgit her doctorate, we're going to have it live on video so she can tell Thomas, you can call me doctor. And then Thomas will go, Birgit. And it will be classic. So, all right. We got Tuesday in, we got Ramu, we got more to go. Good evening, everyone in Europe. To Americans, konnichiwa.